In just 31 seconds, America's sweetheart Dolly Parton went from smiling guest to absolute legend as she completely destroyed Joy Behar on live television before storming off the View's stage. What started as friendly conversation turned into a brutal takedown that left the entire studio in shocked silence and Joy Behar scrambling to save face. Before we get into this explosive confrontation, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. We bring you daily videos exposing Hollywood's darkest scandals, the confrontations they don't want you to see, and the moments that shake the entertainment industry to its core. Last night's episode of The View was supposed to showcase Dolly Parton discussing her latest charitable work and new music. The country music icon walked onto that stage with her signature smile, her blonde hair perfectly styled, wearing a gorgeous pink and white outfit that sparkled under the studio lights. The audience gave her a standing ovation that lasted nearly a minute. Dolly waved and blew kisses, her warmth filling the entire room. Joy Behar sat at the table with that familiar smirk on her face, clearly ready to dig into something. The other hosts welcomed Dolly with genuine excitement, but Joy's energy was different from the start. There was something sharp in her eyes, something that suggested this wasn't going to be the light conversation everyone expected. "Dolly, welcome back to The View," Joy said, her voice carrying that edge that regular viewers know all too well. "It's always interesting having you here because you're one of those people who somehow manages to stay neutral on absolutely everything." Dolly's smile didn't falter. She settled into her seat, crossing her legs gracefully. "Well, Joy, I believe in treating people with kindness, no matter what side of anything they're on." Right, Joy interrupted, waving her hand dismissively. "But don't you think there comes a time when staying neutral is actually taking a side? I mean, we're living in serious times here." The audience shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't the warm welcome they'd anticipated. Dolly's smile tightened just slightly, but she kept her composure. "I think listening to people and showing them respect is never wrong, Joy." "But Dolly," Joy pressed forward, leaning across the table, "you've got this massive platform. Millions of people listen to you. And yet you refuse to use your voice when it really matters. Don't you think that's irresponsible?" One of the other hosts tried to jump in, clearly sensing the tension building. "Joy, I think what Dolly does with her literacy program and—" "I'm talking to Dolly," Joy snapped, not even looking at her co-host. Her focus remained locked on Dolly like a laser. "I want to know why someone with your influence chooses to stay silent about the important issues facing our country." Dolly's jaw tightened. Her hands, adorned with her famous rings, gripped the armrest of her chair. "Joy, I don't stay silent. I speak through my actions. I've built schools, funded vaccine research, created programs that have given millions of books to children. I think that speaks pretty loudly." "Oh, come on," Joy scoffed, actually laughing in a mocking way that made the audience gasp. "Building libraries is great and all, but what about speaking out against injustice? What about using your platform to call out what's wrong?" "I do call out what's wrong," Dolly replied, her southern accent getting a bit thicker, which anyone who knows her understands is a sign she's getting upset. "I call out hatred. I call out unkindness. I call out people who judge others without walking in their shoes." Joy rolled her eyes dramatically. "That's such a cop-out," answered Dolly. "It's 2025, and we need people to take actual stands. Your whole love everyone thing is just a way to avoid having real opinions." The tension in the studio was thick enough to cut with a knife. The other hosts looked at each other nervously. The audience had gone completely quiet. Dolly's face, usually so warm and open, had shifted into something else entirely. Her eyes had gone from twinkling to ice cold. "A cop-out?" Dolly repeated slowly, her voice dropping to a dangerously calm level. "You think loving people is a cop-out?" "I think it's convenient," Joy shot back, clearly not reading the room at all. "It lets you sell records to everyone without actually standing for anything." That was the match that lit the fuse. Dolly sat up straighter in her chair, and everyone in that studio could feel the shift. This wasn't Sweet Dolly anymore. This was a woman who had built an empire from nothing, who had survived decades in one of the toughest industries in the world, who had overcome poverty and sexism, and every obstacle thrown her way. "Let me tell you something, Joy," Dolly began, her voice still calm, but carrying a weight that silenced the entire room. I grew up so poor we didn't have running water. I've worked since I was 10 years old. I've been judged, dismissed, and underestimated my entire life because of how I look, where I'm from, and how I talk." Joy tried to interrupt. "I'm not saying, no, you're going to listen now." Dolly cut her off sharply, pointing one rhinestone-covered finger at the host. "You sit here in your comfortable studio with your comfortable job, and you judge how other people choose to make a difference in the world. You don't get to do that." The audience was frozen. Some people had their hands over their mouths. This was unprecedented. Dolly Parton, known for never losing her cool, was coming unglued, and Joy Behar had pushed her there. Joy's face flushed red. "I have every right to ask questions. That's what we do on this show." Asking questions and being disrespectful are two different things. Dolly fired back immediately. "You haven't asked me a single genuine question. You've sat there and insulted everything I've worked for my entire life." "Oh, please," Joy said with a dismissive wave. "Don't be so dramatic." "Dramatic?" Dolly's voice rose for the first time. "You just told me that helping millions of children learn to read doesn't matter. You said my life's work is a cop-out. And you want to talk about dramatic?" One of the other hosts tried desperately to redirect. "Maybe we should take a quick break." "No," Dolly said firmly, her eyes never leaving Joy's face. "We're not taking a break, because I want Joy to explain something to me. I want her to explain exactly what she's done that's so much more important than what I do." Joy's mouth opened and closed. She clearly hadn't expected Dolly to come at her like this. "I use my platform to speak truth to power. You use your platform to talk," Dolly corrected her coldly. "Talking is easy, Joy. Talk is cheap. I've spent millions of my own money helping people. I've dedicated my entire life to lifting others up. What have you done besides sit behind this table and judge people?" The audience actually gasped out loud. Someone even whispered, "Oh my God." This was getting brutal, and everyone knew it. Joy's face was now bright red, and her voice got louder. "How dare you come on my show and attack me like this?" "Your show?" Dolly laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "This isn't your show, Joy. This is called The View, not the Joy Behar Show. And you're not being attacked. You're being held accountable for your rudeness." "I was not rude," Joy insisted, slamming her hand on the table. "I asked legitimate questions." "You were incredibly rude," Dolly stated flatly. "From the moment I sat down, you've done nothing but try to belittle me and everything I stand for. And you know what? I don't have to sit here and take it." Joy's eyes widened. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm done with this conversation," Dolly said, starting to stand up. "I came here thinking we were going to have a nice chat about music and helping kids learn to read. Instead, you've turned it into an ambush." "Sit down, Dolly," Joy commanded, her voice sharp and authoritative. "We're in the middle of a show." Dolly paused, half standing, and looked at Joy with an expression of pure disbelief. "Did you just tell me to sit down?" "Yes, I did," Joy said firmly. "You don't just walk off a live show. Watch me," Dolly replied simply. Joy stood up now too, her face twisted in anger. "You can't just leave because someone asks you hard questions. This is what happens when you live in a bubble where everyone kisses your ass all the time." The entire studio gasped again. The producers in the control room were probably having heart attacks. The other hosts looked absolutely mortified. Dolly's face went from cold to absolutely furious. "What did you just say to me?" "You heard me." Joy doubled down, apparently deciding to go all in on this disaster. "You're so used to everyone treating you like you're perfect that you can't handle actual criticism." "Criticism?" Dolly's voice was shaking now, but not with hurt, with rage. "You call insulting someone's life work criticism? You need to learn the difference, Joy. And you need to learn to take some heat," Joy shot back. "You're not perfect, Dolly. Despite what everyone says, you're not this angel who can do no wrong." "I have never claimed to be perfect," Dolly said, her voice dropping to that dangerous calm again. "I've never claimed to be an angel, but I'll tell you what I am. I'm someone who treats people with respect. I'm someone who puts my money where my mouth is. And I'm someone who knows when it's time to walk away from a toxic situation." "A toxic situation?" Joy laughed harshly. "You're calling The View toxic?" "No," Dolly said, looking Joy dead in the eyes. "I'm calling you toxic, Joy. This show is fine. Your co-hosts are lovely. But you're mean-spirited and bitter. And you hide it behind this idea that you're speaking truth. But really, you're just angry. The silence in the studio was deafening. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Joy's mouth hung open in shock. You can't speak to me like that, Joy finally sputtered out. I just did, Dolly replied calmly. And you know what? It's something someone should have told you a long time ago. You don't get to tear people down and call it journalism. You don't get to insult someone's life and call it asking questions. Joy's voice got louder, almost screaming now. Get off my set! If you can't handle real conversation, then get the hell off my set! Dolly smiled, but it wasn't warm. It was the smile of someone who had won. Oh, honey, I was already leaving. You didn't kick me off anything. I chose to go. You're damn right you're leaving, Joy yelled, her professionalism completely gone now. And don't come back. Don't worry, Dolly said, picking up her purse and adjusting her jacket. I wouldn't come back to this show if you paid me. I've dealt with a lot of difficult people in my 60-plus years in this business. But you might just take the cake, Joy. The other hosts tried to intervene, with one of them pleading, Dolly, please, let's all just calm down. I am calm, Dolly assured her, patting her shoulder gently. And sweetheart, you keep being the good person you are. Don't let this environment change you. She looked pointedly at Joy when she said, this environment. Joy was practically vibrating with anger. You self-righteous. Careful now, Dolly interrupted, holding up one finger in warning. You're on live television. Your mask is already slipping enough. My mask? Joy sputtered. You're the one who pretends to be America's sweetheart while what? Dolly challenged, stepping closer to the table again. While actually helping people? While actually making a difference? While actually being kind? Yeah, I do pretend to do those things. Oh wait, no I don't. I actually do them. Joy grabbed her cue cards and threw them down on the table in frustration. You think you're so much better than everyone else. No, Dolly said firmly. I think I'm better than you, Joy. Because I don't tear people down to make myself feel important. I don't attack guests on my platform. And I don't have to yell to make a point. Get out, Joy screamed, actually pointing toward the exit. Get out of this studio right now. Dolly turned to the audience, her composure returning. I'm sorry you all had to see this. I really did come here with nothing but good intentions, but I won't be disrespected, not by anyone, and especially not on live television for entertainment. The audience burst into applause. They were actually clapping for Dolly as she prepared to leave. This made Joy even angrier. Oh, sure, clap for her, Joy yelled at the audience. Clap for the woman who can't handle a real conversation. They're clapping, one of the other hosts said quietly, because she handled you perfectly. Joy whipped around to her co-host. Excuse me? But the co-host didn't back down. You were out of line, Joy. From the beginning. We all saw it. Joy looked around the table at her other co-hosts, and she could see in their faces that they agreed. She was standing alone in this moment, and she knew it. Dolly had made it to the edge of the stage when Joy shouted one more time. You're just scared to have real opinions, Dolly. You're a coward. Dolly stopped. The audience held their breath. Slowly, Dolly turned around, and when she spoke, her voice carried across that entire studio with perfect clarity. Joy, I have fought for what I believe in since before you even started in this business. I've stood up to record executives, movie producers, and people far more intimidating than you. I've fought for women's rights, children's rights, and the rights of everyone to be treated with dignity. But I've done it with grace and class, two things you clearly know nothing about. How dare you? Joy started, but Dolly held up her hand. I'm not finished, Dolly said, her voice like steel wrapped in velvet. You want to know why I don't scream my opinions from the rooftops like you do? It's because I learned a long time ago that real change doesn't come from dividing people. It comes from bringing them together. It comes from showing love even to people you disagree with. It comes from being an example, not a bully. Joy's face had gone from red to almost purple. I am not a bully. Yes, you are, Dolly said simply. You just tried to bully me on national television. You insulted me. You dismissed my life's work. And you tried to make me feel small. But here's the thing. Joy, I've been made to feel small by people my whole life. People who thought I was just a dumb blonde from the mountains. People who thought big hair and rhinestones meant an empty head. And I proved every single one of them wrong. The audience erupted in applause again, even louder this time. Some people were standing. Joy looked like she might actually explode. You know what your problem is? Dolly continued. And now she was walking back toward the table. Your problem is that you think being loud makes you right. You think being aggressive makes you strong. But it doesn't. It just makes you loud and aggressive. I don't have to listen to this, Joy said. But her voice wavered slightly. No, you don't, Dolly agreed. But maybe you should. Because I'm not the first person you've done this to. And I guarantee I won't be the last. How many guests have sat in this chair and been attacked by you? How many people have left this studio feeling hurt and disrespected? One of the other hosts actually nodded in agreement, which Joy caught from the corner of her eye. This is ridiculous, Joy said, trying to regain control. We're going to commercial. No. The producer's voice came through the speakers. We're staying live. Joy's eyes widened. Even her own producers were turning on her. This whole thing was spiraling completely out of her control. Dolly smiled softly. Looks like you're not as in charge as you thought, Joy. This is my show, Joy insisted desperately. Then maybe you should start acting like a host instead of a bully, Dolly said. A good host makes their guests feel welcome. They ask interesting questions. They create conversation, not confrontation. But you ambush people, you attack them, and you call it entertainment. Joy tried one more time to assert dominance. If you hate this show so much, why did you agree to come on? Because I was told this was going to be a conversation about my charity work and music, Dolly explained patiently, like she was talking to a child. I was told it would be a fun, light segment. Nobody told me I was walking into an ambush by someone who seems to have some kind of personal problem with me. I don't have a personal problem with you, Joy insisted. But her voice lacked conviction. Really? Dolly raised an eyebrow. Because this felt pretty personal, Joy. This felt like you had an agenda from the moment I walked out here. And you know what? I don't know what I did to you, but I'm sorry if I hurt you somehow. But that doesn't give you the right to treat me this way. The apology, even though it was clearly not needed, seemed to catch Joy completely off guard. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. That's what kindness looks like, Joy, Dolly said gently. Even when someone treats you poorly, you can still show them grace. That's what I believe in. That's what I practice. And that's what you tried to mock me for earlier. Joy finally found her voice again, though it was quieter now. I wasn't mocking you. Yes, you were, Dolly said firmly. You absolutely were. And everyone in this room knows it. Everyone watching at home knows it. The only person who seems to not understand what happened here is you. Joy looked around the studio, at her co-hosts who wouldn't meet her eyes, at the audience who was clearly on Dolly's side, at the cameras that had captured every second of this disaster. I think we need to end this segment, Joy said weakly. Now you want to end it? Dolly asked with a laugh. After you've spent the last 15 minutes attacking me, now you want to end it? No, Joy. You wanted a real conversation. You wanted me to show my real opinions. Well, here they are. My real opinion is that you're a bully who hides behind the excuse of journalism. My real opinion is that you owe me an apology. And my real opinion is that you need to take a long, hard look at how you treat people. I'm not apologizing, Joy said stubbornly, crossing her arms. Of course you're not, Dolly said with a sad smile. Because that would require humility, and you don't seem to have much of that. But you know what? I don't need your apology. I know who I am. I know what I've done with my life. And I know that when I look in the mirror, I see someone who tries every day to make the world a little bit better. She adjusted her purse on her shoulder and looked one more time at Joy. I hope someday you can say the same thing, Joy. I really do. Because all this anger you carry around, it's eating you up inside. And it's hurting everyone around you. With that, Dolly turned and walked toward the exit. The audience stood and gave her a thunderous ovation. People were cheering, whistling, and some were even crying. Joy sat at the table, her face frozen in shock and anger. Her co-hosts were whispering to each other, clearly trying to figure out what to do next. As Dolly reached the door to exit the studio, Joy's voice rang out one final time, shrill and desperate. "Don't you walk away from me, Dolly Parton!" Dolly paused at the door and looked back over her shoulder. "Honey, I'm not walking away from you. I'm walking away from your toxicity, your anger, and your need to hurt people to feel powerful. There's a difference." And with that, Dolly Parton walked through that door and out of the View's studio. The audience continued to applaud as she disappeared from sight. The camera stayed on the empty doorway for several long seconds before cutting back to the panel, where Joy Behar sat in stunned silence, finally realizing that she had just made one of the biggest mistakes of her career on live television.